I'm having a hard time hearing you, man.
YouTube people of the internet, what is going on? Welcome to the second official Rise of Kingdoms cast of the day. My name is Gecko from the Gecko Gaming channel, and welcome to a very, very interesting match that we're about to witness. None other than the current reigning champions OV versus MFLD, Misfit Lion Division from Kingdom 93 against OV from Kingdom 92. This match is going to be as exciting as it can get, as these two teams are some of the strongest teams in the playoffs. We've watched the first set of matches going on earlier today. We saw a bunch of amazing matches that happened at 1 UTC, with BBTH taking 166, JWM2, myself in the team, taking UCS, and HKL taking out 1008. In this round, we're going to have a bunch of matches happening in the background, and we'll do our best to update you guys about what is going on. But you guys clearly seem to keep your eyes on the one team. OV, the current reigning champions of Arc of Osiris League Season 1, have a little bit of a lead in your opinion when it comes to the bets. 43 million Oryx against the 33 on MFLD. It is time. Within a few moments, we'll start the match. From now, there are a couple of things you should know about this match. This match will be co-casted by myself and Dragotian Gaming, who will be joining us momentarily, and this is going to be exciting. Whoever wins moves on to the next stage to potentially find themselves against either 89PX or C9N, who will be duking it out while this match is going on. We have an incredible match ahead of us. There are a couple of things to talk about really quickly, starting off with some of the names that you'll see on the map. Misfit Lion King being the leader of MFLD and Kingdom 93 on the field versus Slouty, the leader of OV. We have some of the names that we know very well, such as Mr. John Wick, the Arc Carrier, will be showing up on the field once more. And this is going to be a really, really, really interesting match. OV, as mentioned, the current reigning champions, have all the experience and knowledge they need to potentially take this match. However, MFLD, coming in after a very well-run Season 1, they made it to the playoffs. They made it beyond the top 32 to, I believe, the top 8 or top 16. And from there, they got knocked out, but this time around, they're coming in full swing. So we have the reigning champions against one of the strongest teams in the playoffs right now, who have also a very slight, but real, well, not slight, we're talking about 340 some million power in favor of MFLD. This could come crucial in terms of healing and healing speed ups, but as we saw in the previous cast, getting the most kills doesn't mean you get the win. Having the most troops doesn't mean you get the win. The win is whoever has the better strategy, the better timings, and manages to clutch the most points in 60 minutes. In a few moments, we should be starting up the match. It is time to keep an eye on you guys, beautiful people in the chat. How's everybody doing? Who do you guys think is going to win this? Let us know in the comments. Hashtag MFLD or hashtag OV. And if there's any technical issues along the way, sound problems, you guys need a little bit of volume up, volume down, any of that stuff, let us know in the comments as well. We'll keep an eye on the chat while the match is going on. We have a few more moments until the field opens up and the Osiris match begins. We encourage you guys who don't manage to watch this in-game to click on the red icon that you will see in-game, and that'll send you right here. Tell your alliance mates to come right here. We'll be casting this match, and it's going to be a very, very exciting one. We have what, 20 seconds remaining. Let's see what the chat has to say. A lot of hashtag OV, a lot of hashtags MFLDs along the way. This is going to be a really, really interesting match. With that being said, Mysterious Merchant has arrived. That doesn't phase us right now because we're about to get into the Osiris field. And what is there to do? At this point, let's get in here really quickly and wait for a moment until the match begins. And from there, we already heard a little bit of Dragothian coming in, but in a moment he'll be joining us and kicking off this match as we wait for the watch to start. And as soon as we can get in, we'll swap into the game in a few moments. Usually takes a couple of seconds for things to update. And there we go. Let's get in the match. And yeah, what else is there to do? Let's do this.
All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the second match of the day. We have got, like Gecko said, two powerhouse alliances. One is the defending champion, OV, and facing off against one of the most powerful alliances in the game, MFLD, who have come back newly revamped, newly structured, and causing some havoc in this season's Osiris League playoffs. What are you thinking, Gecko? Do you think we're going to be having another powerhouse match like we saw earlier today? We had some really good ones earlier. This one looks like it might be able to trump it.
I agree, even though I may or may not have entered the wrong match by mistake, but now we're in the right match. It just popped and refreshed and everything went out along the way. But hey, first cast of the day for me. It's exciting. I'm really looking forward to see what OV are bringing into the table. I'm more excited, quite frankly, about MFLD than watching OV. Not because of anything bad about OV. A couple of OV people are already getting mad. It's because I know what they're worth. I've been proven wrong again and again this season once more, and I really want to see what MFLD can bring to the table to challenge the reigning champions.
Yeah, OV. So OV stunned the world, stunned the rock community when they took out JWM. It was a landslide betting from a JWM perspective. Everybody thought JWM was going to win, and sure enough, OV pulled it out. They were the Cinderella story last season, and they took the crown. And this season, it's been a little rockier than it was last season. There were some changes made to the roster, some different things that were adjusted, and interested to see how OV turns out here. They are still a star-studded cast, and they've definitely got the strategy and the players to pull out the victory. But so does MFLD. So this is going to be very interesting.
Yes, sir. I could not agree more. But one thing we can do really quickly in the next 18 seconds is remind you guys that the whatchamacallit? Wow. Replacement folks, the folks who are backups, wow, that word ran away from me. If there are any backups about to come in, they can only come in right now. So if you're seeing a few folks missing, don't worry. They'll make it in right now. But I see a 30 versus 30. The match begins. Gates of hell open up. 4 rallies, 5 rallies, 6 rallies already up, but only 6, interestingly enough. We have 3 coming in from blue, 4 coming in from blue now, 3 coming in from OV in red. And interesting, we're seeing 1 rally getting delayed a little bit. This is new.
Yeah, I don't know if it's new or if it's a mess up, or maybe they're trying to focus on one side. I mean, again, OV is definitely known for kind of pushing the edge on a strategy perspective. So maybe we're about to see something special. You never know. Or maybe, again, it could be just as simple as somebody forgot to send a rally. So, there it is. There's the rally.
There's the rally.
Yeah,
all right.
I think it may have been a little bit of a slip up, or it could be a timing thing. I mean, that's the other thing. A lot of times these rallies that are trying to break by the altars, they're getting there a little early. So maybe OV just has the timing down really, really nicely to where it breaks right as soon as that structure opens up and they can grab it. I think maybe that might be what the plan was for that last rally.
I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, it's interesting because at this level, you really don't know anymore if it's a mistake. Is it intentional? Did you guys lose the building? Did you guys want to lose the building? And so a lot of misconceptions happen along the way, and it's going to be really interesting to see if whether it's a timing thing or just, they're not worried too much. But MFLD starting strong, 2 outposts already in their favor and an obelisk. They're starting very, very early, and we talk about this during regular Ark of Osiris casts, which both Dragothian and myself do on our own YouTube channels. The name of the game in here is who can get the most points in 1 hour. And sometimes those split-second differences are so critical. Obelisk at the bottom side of MFLD has 2 minutes and 37 seconds on it versus the one on the top of OV 242. Those 5 seconds are points, and the fact that 3 outposts were already taken by blue and only 1 by red is a little bit of a advantage early on for MFLD.
Yeah, and in this level of the game, like you were saying, every little bit counts. I see John Wick heading towards the middle right off the bat. I see him hitting that that third outpost right towards the middle. He's going to grab that on the way and ricochet and slingshot across that over to the middle as well. Maybe helping out on the bottom lane a little bit too is likely going to be the story. But his main purpose, we know for 100% fact, is going to be capturing that arc. We saw an excellent arc carrier on this last stream an hour ago. He definitely had some speed on his armies. Even his infantry army looked extra speedy. So that was the thing that won the game, was the Ark of Osiris captures in favor of JWM2, spoiler alert, winning that match against UCS. I'm looking to see how the Ark play is here, and just as importantly, how the structure game is going to start getting fleshed out.
Some folks in the chat asking to turn off simplified graphics. Well, I'd love to. We were going to try to do it, but the most likely outcome will be that they'll re-simplify as soon as the war begins. So we can play with this right now, but Ark of Osiris turns it on automatically for you. So just keep that in mind, as we might have to simplify. It might simplify itself at some point. At this stage, everybody's just placing themselves on the map. You have about 95 seconds until the rest of the buildings open up for occupation. We can see an MFLD rally very, very aggressive towards the desert altar at the bottom, about to break nearby. OV are already in here ready to go, but there's 82 long seconds to go until these buildings open up. And fighting in the open field right now might not be what either team wants. However, with MFLD's very strong presence around the desert altar, they can very easily contest this on the open field early on, get rid of people out of here very early on, and then secure this desert altar very, very quickly. On the other side of the map, we see OV focusing more towards their Shrine of War, and the rally, again, all these rallies about to break in the middle of the map to move marches forward. A standard strategy nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of become like clockwork, and it depends on how you look at it, right? We've got at the top, at the left side to the Sky Altar there, we've got Vinci's OV rally, or OV's Vinci rally that's led by Genghis, coming up towards basically the obelisk. However, all these cities are starting to pour into the left obelisk for MFLD in blue. They're going to break that rally too, I'd imagine, and I wonder if they're going to try and split that rally in half, and it looks like that's exactly what they're doing. Vinci splitting that army, some going to the Shrine of War, some going to the Sky Altar, trying to capture these things with just under 5 seconds left for these things to open up. I don't think they're going to have enough time to get to the altar, but they're going to capture that Shrine of War right off the bat. Watch this. Bingo, right there.
They grab the Shrine of War, but in return, they lose their desert altar. And the desert altar is packed with blue marches to the point where they can fill it and now try to hold on to it. Remind you, if you are not aware of this part of Ark of Osiris, first occupation is super important in buildings, as there is a bonus point, 400 points when it comes to shrines and 750 points when it comes to altars. So at this stage, OV definitely have the buff advantage. They own both Shrines of War. But if MFLD can hold on to this desert altar for another 2 minutes and 30 seconds, they might be able to yoink this first occupation bonus out of OV. And worst case scenario, they're delaying the heck out of the points per minute in the favor of OV. They did the same with the Shrine of Life. Shrine of Life being completely taken out. It looks like a march that took it is going to bail out and go try to catch some more things in the background. But very, very good aggression by MFLD very, very early on. The real question is whether they try to hold on to this desert altar or they will give it up. As of right now, Akan, as a captain on that building, doesn't seem like they plan on holding on to this for a long term.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked. You've got a Richard there, you've got a Guan there. I mean, you've even got 2 Richards there. They should definitely pop one of those armies in there and swap that garrison. It doesn't look like they're going to hold it. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds to hold with a very small sliver of red. They are trying to exchange armies out, but OV is continually pouring on the pressure there. This would be a huge 750 points for MFLD if they can do it, but it's going to be very difficult to do. OV definitely trying to push MFLD off the structure, and just like that, they did take that structure back, and they are already swarming that Shrine of Life down at the bottom as well. So we are going to even up eventually, but MFLD doing a great job of delaying the points starting to generate for the OV side.
I don't know about all that, Dragothian, because they are swarming back this Desert Altar. They have so much presence in here, they can actually afford to swarm back this Desert Altar. It is going down slow and steady, reaching yellow already. 30 seconds in, and if they take this Desert Altar again, that is another minute and a half worth of points that OV are missing out. We're talking about a Desert Altar that is on the half of the map that is supposed to be the red side. And remind the viewers, in case you are not aware of this, the shrines are worth 80 points per minute, while the altars are worth 150 points per minute. So for every minute OV hasn't captured this building, which is 3 minutes already, they are missing out on more and more points.
They just got it. They just took it right back. You're absolutely right. And I think some more, if we look back, not quite any more coming from the MFLD side. However, the OV side looks exactly the same way. It looks like whoever's here, with the exception of the folks coming from the obelisk down to the south, this is going to be who either captures it, holds it, or loses it. This is a one-shot thing. But again, like you said, MFLD causing a delay for this point generating structure for OV. This can pay huge dividends towards the end if this ends up being a very close match, which I anticipate this being. This could be a huge thing. I mean, we're looking at 1,400 points maybe in this case. We're talking about exchanging this 3 times now, 3 minutes apiece to capture. I mean, that's 9 minutes times 150. I mean, it starts to stack up very, very quickly. That little bit could be the difference. And with 4 minutes left for the arc to spawn here, this is a big deal.
And the obelisk at the bottom, MFLD rallying it strong. OV are in here. Vinci is with 3 marches in here, finally refilling this building. It will be secured. While all that happened, OV tried to take away MFLD's Desert Altar unsuccessfully. All I'm seeing is a sea of blue all over the place, and they are pushing forward consistently, even though they might finally not be able to catch this Desert Altar away from OV, which by the way is still going into the yellow right now, and there are still marches here. All of these marches have delayed this building's first cap by 5 minutes already, 4 and some minutes. That's what, 600 points out the window for OV, while MFLD did secure their altars successfully. They are gaining points per minute. They are 200 points per minute ahead right now, and they're also 1,400 points in the lead. But as you mentioned, in 2 minutes and 43 seconds, the Temple of Osiris will open up, and 3,000 points will be up for grabs.
You got it. And if we go over before we head to the Ark, let's go to the Sky Altar on the very left. There's an Artemisia garrison holding very strong. Looks like Artemisia YSG against what was an Attila Takeda rally, and that Attila Takeda rally had proper field support and presence and did not do well at all. This Artemisia garrison held up very, very strong, and now it's starting to get swarmed by some single marches. I don't think that's going to go very well for OV either with the proper field support that MFLD has there. Conversely, if we go over to the outposts as well, that seems to be a little bit of a nuisance march running around, taking these outposts from MFLD2, Fate Hatter from OV with very speedy Cav running around trying to cause a little bit of a distraction. If you look on the other side, MFLD is doing the same thing. So this is the time, right? Create distractions. Try and get people's views elsewhere when really, the end of the day, everybody's going to start pouring into the middle here very shortly. And the distractions are working, right? If you look in the middle, with 1 minute and 30 left, there's only 4 armies in the middle. 3
yes, sir.
From OV and 1 from MFLD.
Yes, sir. The same kind of garrison, for the record, was on the Desert Altar against an Attila Takeda, and it definitely held very, very well. Interesting stuff to see Artemisia showing up on the field here. One thing that we do want to point out for those of you who are trying to micro-optimize your gameplay and get even better is when you see marches hitting a building that you know the building is well secured, you do not want to go swarm them out. The more those marches take their time to hit a building, rallies, solo marches, whatever it is, the less likely they are to come back in full swing to hit you again. So we've been saying this in multiple casts now. If you have the ability to let a rally keep hitting without touching it, just let it keep hitting. It's all good. J-Rock causing that distraction you mentioned, took an obelisk away from OV at the top side. And OV are headed towards the center. Nobody really cares about this obelisk right now.
And if I know, so let me back up. MFLD has been known to port in on an obelisk, a forward obelisk. I've seen it happen. I've experienced it. So I'd look out for that if for some reason they're able to hold this for another 2 minutes 20 seconds. But this middle is looking to shape up very nicely for OV. MFLD coming in just a bit late, and if you're coming in this late, I would actually really, and again I said this last match too, I would actually like to see them come around from behind. But if you look from behind, OV has got 20 armies coming up from behind too. So this is going to be tough for MFLD to get. This first arc might go in favor of OV. And if that's the case, I wonder if we're going to see a bit of a swing with them already having a little bit of a points per minute advantage and lead.
Yes, sir. The map turned real quick. The early stages were fantastic by MFLD. It seemed like they're going to start putting both their hands on the driver wheel, right? They were driving the car, everything was good, but OV slowly and steadily rolling in. John Wick carrying the Arc of Osiris, the infamous John Wick that carried this arc multiple times last season to a victory, might end up finding himself at some point maybe going up against JWM's 2 Just Be, who you mentioned in the past cast was a hero carrying arcs left and right. Right now, the arc is going very much in the favor of OV. There are some blue marches nearby here trying to hit John Wick. But quite frankly, there's so much red presence here. Even if John goes down with 1 march, he probably has another one nearby ready to go. And there's just not enough blue presence here to do anything to stop this arc from going in the red team's favor. And that will put them 3,400 points in the lead.
Yep, you nailed it. And this is a great start for OV. You know, like you said, it looked like they were a little bit on their back foot at the very beginning, and maybe they didn't get the start they quite wanted. But yeah, MFLD just came to the middle a little late, and when they came late, they came from the wrong direction. So just a double snafu there for MFLD. But it's the first arc. I anticipate probably 2 or 3 arcs at least inside of this matchup, and I think that, again, just like last match, the arcs are going to say it. I'm also just quickly taking a peek around the provisioning areas just to kind of take that off your plate, Gecko, and I'm not seeing much on the OV side at all, unless they're just not populating for me. I have taken a look at the MFLD side, and I do see a few provisioners, so something to keep in mind as we're continuing the match.
Sorry about that. We got a little bit of a transition happen all of a sudden in the middle of the cast, but all good. We're back into it. It just randomly decided to play. While that is going on, red team holding on to 3 altars is very bad news for the folks in blue. OV now really kicking it to the next gear. And the one thing that we do need to point out is the fact that when you have a distraction play, that distraction play is meant to distract your opposition, but not to distract yourself. While the folks in MFLD were doing a lot of work on the map to do everything possible to distract OV from the main target, it seems like they a little bit lost track of time. And all of a sudden, by the time they realized it's center time, OV were already there. OV let them take the obelisk, let them take a bunch of different buildings along the way because they focused towards the center. We've seen the usual thing that OV do is they roll forward, they try to take your desert altar, they try to take your shrine of war, and then they converge towards the center. This time, they didn't even bother doing that. They knew what was going on, they held back, they let MFLD feel comfortable, and then they swung right back. This was actually fairly nuts. Very impressive stuff.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm just seeing more and more rallies coming out in favor of OV here. I mean, you got Slouty throwing out a rally at the top here, going towards what looks like the altar here for MFLD, and I think a good point was brought up in chat here. I believe MFLD did not use the teleport skill at the very beginning in favor of using some of the attack and defense buffs to try and capture that desert altar and hold it. And that may be what you're seeing here with having some more troops on the battlefield, maybe a little more seemingly higher presence from OV on the field because they have more teleported troops up here. They've got more people at their obelisks instead of sitting back in their base. It's a shorter reinforcement time. It's a shorter walking distance, getting all those troops on the field. That's 25 armies that have minutes less to go ahead and get back to the fight. So that could be a huge difference in why they were able to take that arc so easily. And then on top of that, having a good field presence to take those 3 altars. And the one that's blinking on the MFLD side, it does look like MFLD is going to be able to take it back, but it's costly, it's taking time, and the Sky Altar is going to at least be held for a few seconds, generating maybe 1 set of points for OV, possibly.
Yes, sir, and things are going from bad to worse as the Shrine of Life was taken away from MFLD as well, and now OV contesting for the Shrine of War, one of the most important buildings in the game. It is only 20 minutes into the match. It's not nowhere near over, nowhere near anything, but that is a really, really good point. The fact that Divine Aid is almost a must nowadays as a first skill use, or else you're just simply keeping too many troops out there. To an extent, I understand the idea of trying to be different and coming up with new cool strategies, but at the end of the day, in the playoffs, this is for everything, and not using Divine Aid as soon as possible seemed to have been a very costly mistake by MFLD, and now they're going to have to figure out how they get back into this. 39 minutes remaining, tons of arcs still to come. There's easily 3 more unless someone delays. MFLD are still looking alive. They take an obelisk away from OV once more to just annoy them even further, but OV taking a desert altar is just killing the points per minute for MFLD, as now OV are at 540 points per minute and MFLD at 210, 360 points in the favor of OV.
Yeah, that's a significant difference, and with 5 minutes left on this arc, MFLD definitely is going to have to look to capture this next arc. They do have 1 player already in the middle, kind of posturing forward a little bit, kind of puffing his chest and throwing a quick flex out. But, 1 player ain't going to do it. They're going to need to make sure that they've got more than 1 player in the middle, and OV obviously holding their marches out of the middle on the sides, trying to take these structures. Having 3 out of the 4 altars is a huge win for your points per minute total, not only for generating points, but denying points for your opponent. And with more and more blue structures blinking, this is looking really, really solid in favor of OV. I mean, if they can keep these structure games up and continue to win these arcs, I don't care how much provisioning you do, and I certainly don't care about, power or anything like that. They're definitely showing that they are still the OV from last season, that they still came to play, and they want a repeat. They want this repeat very, very quickly.
I could not agree more, and one of the things to point out is that OV still have 6 teleports available, which is kind of weird at this point in time. It's either they just used up Divine Aid and nobody teleported, or their Divine Aid might have been completely wasted, considering right now they have teleports available. And the worst part of all this is I don't see enough rallies out there. Finally, there's only 1 rally from the folks of MFLD, 3 coming out of OV. A lot of blue presence on the field, but very little rallying and losing a building. The big problem with losing a building is that the swarms can take the building back, but it'll take a lot of time. Like you mentioned previously, we can see in this desert altar, there's a lot of open field presence, but unless there is something a bit stronger to do more significant damage, this is going to eventually cause massive issues, and the points are just going to keep flowing in favor of OV.
Yeah, I mean, you're swarming an altar that's got a Tilt Takeda in it. That's always a bad idea. But again, I mean, when you've got the troops in the area, sometimes it's a little quicker, but it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you troops on the battlefield, which means you got to go back to your city, which means you got to redo your armies. That time is just as impactful as not having enough troops at all to begin with. So, I think they may take that desert altar back, but it's going to take some time. They're still fighting open field at that desert altar, and there's a rally on the other desert altar for OV at the bottom, but it's not supported well enough because the troop count is just so thin. With more rallies coming out from Kika, from OV side, and Attila Takeda rally going up against this Richard, there's already a debuff army from Kika hitting it from the with an Ethelfled and Barca. There's just buildings blinking everywhere. Even this Artemisia army right here is about to go down on the Sky Altar for MFLD. If they lose this Sky Altar, they will have no altar generating points for their side. That's devastating, especially considering if we go to the middle, they are putting stuff in the middle, but they've got to capture it, and they've got to capture it quick.
So a couple of things to mention here is there are open field presences by the folks in blue in the Sky Altar, but the problem is they're waiting for the marches to die off a bit too much, and then they are switching in with a full march. What ends up happening is that every single time it's a one march against a rally plus a swarm, and it's just impossible to hold like that, even though you are holding onto the building for a little bit longer. Right now, for example, there's one march going up against a rally and 5 swarmers. There is no way to hold against that, and nothing nearby to stop the Sky Altar from going down in the favor of OV. This is the strategy we've seen them employ last time around. They go for the Shrine of War, they go for the Desert Altar, they smash hard. If they take the buildings, they give up on the buildings and they go straight towards the center. You can see Turin now leaving the middle to try to go help out the Shrine of War. If the Shrine of War goes down, there can be massive presence by MFLD in the center. But without the Shrine of War, 10% attack and 10% defense in favor of OV can be very bad news. OV don't even have presence in the center right now. They are fairly far back when it comes to the Ark of Osiris itself, but they are 6,000 points, almost 6,000 points ahead. They can allow themselves to lose 3,500 points right now as long as they maintain a 710 to 290 points per minute lead. This is getting really, really tough. 420 points per minute for OV means that they'll come over and take over this arc essentially in terms of points within 8 minutes. 8 minutes, this arc is pointless.
Yep, you got it. And then this Sky Ultra that they just took, OV just took, I mean, it's not going to go down quickly. You've got a full garrison or pretty close to it and 5 or 6 armies for OV just sitting there. They're going to have 4 altar generating point general. As soon as I say that, MFLD takes the one at the top. But at least 3 still point generating building or altar buildings. And with the middle starting to go ahead and get underway, alliance skills are popping. You see how slow Coffee or Tea is moving from MFLD. That's because of that bogged down skill that OV just dropped. And they needed to do that because OV this time is a little bit behind on the timing. But wow, they did a lot with that being a little bit behind. Look how much points per minute total they've got. Look what kind of a point differential they've generated from being that few seconds behind. MFLD committed early to the middle because they wanted this arc. And I got a feeling that OV is going to make this one very difficult. They're pulling all their armies in from all sides to the center to try and at least slow down this arc carrier. And with MFLD committing so many troops to the middle, I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to get this the Sky Altar on the left side back, or the Shrine of Life back, because that one's looking pretty solid in favor of OV as well.
Yes, sir. Action and reaction. The folks of MFLD acted upon going towards the center first, and the reaction was OV were like, cool, we're going to take as many buildings as we can and try to get this points per minute, even if we don't maintain the buildings. Even if OV don't hold on to all these buildings right now, they've stopped MFLD from generating points. As long as those 3-minute timers are going on the blue buildings, like the Desert Altar right now, OV are very happy. They are not they're not letting MFLD generate a single point out of altars. And at this stage, even if this arc goes in favor of MFLD, they've sacrificed so much. The longer this arc takes to get home, the more points essentially OV are making, and the less time there will be left for MFLD to take control back of the map and start generating points. Ay.
Yep, you got it. So, man, this is looking pretty crazy. Looking at the middle, they still are moving this arc back, our MFLD, but OV is making it terribly difficult for them to go ahead and get this thing back quickly. MFLD needs to get this arc captured and captured quick so they can get back to the structure game, because the structures, while it's starting to even back up a little bit, OV is making that very difficult as well. Just as soon as they capture a structure, OV is back on them with open field marches swarming them down. Rallies already resent, that kind of thing. So, I mean, they're on the ball with their reaction to what's happening on the field. And MFLD just seems to be on the back foot a little bit. Trying to capture this arc is going to be critical. And if they can do it quickly, they may have a chance to stay in this game.
Yes, sir, they may, and there's still plenty of time. 30 long minutes left in this match. We're not calling it to anyone or anything just yet. There is so much time for everybody to get back in shape and get it going. But the first step for the folks in blue has to be this arc, and quickly. The longer they take to capture the arc, the less likely they are going to be able to mount this comeback that they really need to mount. And honestly, the folks of OV are just doing everything humanly possible to slow down MFLD. They are doing everything they can to just keep this arc from getting captured, which means blue team in MFLD commit more troops towards it because they're already way too deep into this. And at this point, like, what do you do? What do? You just have to commit. And while buildings are blinking all over the place, I believe we even had a little bit of a crash happen right now. Buildings game is top priority at this stage. MFLD really need to step back up their game and get themselves back in at least an even ground when it comes to the points per minute game. And from there, try to mount a comeback to get more points and potentially win this match. 30 minutes remaining, so much time to still play this match, and a comeback is still attainable for sure.
Yeah, I agree, and I definitely see looks like Hemo going ahead and bringing this arc back, continuing to move it forward for MFLD. He is going to go down, but you see again more alliance skills being popped all over the place. Those cost points, guys, and you might need one of those alliance skills at a critical moment. That's a big part of these new Osiris League playoffs. Last year, we did not have those. Those were newly introduced into the Arc of Osiris event and just newly announced for the playoff matches. So these are all new. This is something that the alliances didn't necessarily plan on for the Osiris League playoffs because they were strictly an Arc of Osiris match thing just until recently.
Yes, sir. And MFLD mounting a comeback. We put on the screen really quickly for a few moments the scores of all the other matches for you folks as we got back into the match. MFLD are pushing forward. They will secure their Arc of Osiris, and now they're trying to take OV's Desert Altar. It looks like OV also committed a little bit too much maybe to the middle, to the point where now they might be in a little bit of trouble in the building game, as this Attila Takeda has two marches nearby helping it. But really, most of the OV marches are just pushing forward to the Shrine of War of MFLD, which is fairly well secured right now. Interesting stuff. The comeback is still possible. 8,000, 4,000 points in between these teams. Provisions are still a thing. Points per minute game is still a thing. Those of you who think this match is over, yeah, trust me, there's still plenty of time for something crazy to happen here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they know when, when I say they, I mean OV. The OV knows when they've got enough, right? So you just saw all those players, and they're continuing to do that, just pour past that Desert Altar. There's no support for the MFLD rally there with Attila Takeda. And the benefit of Richard is that as each piece of the puzzle here starts to get lower and lower, Richard starts to win out because he starts to bring those troops back with that big heal that Richard brings. And without any reinforcement, eventually this Attila Takeda rally will go down in a heavy way. Whereas if it was fully reinforced, that Richard would probably be in some heavy trouble with being Richard Wu Garrison against Attila Takeda. Not exactly the best one, but now all the action is up towards the altars, and more specifically, look at all of these MFLD coming to the Shrine of War to defend it against the wave of OV coming up from that Desert Altar we were just looking at.
Yes, sir. This building is critical. We keep talking about the Shrine of War as one of the most important buildings in the game. The reason for that is because of the buffs it gives you. 5% attack and 5% defense is crucial for you to be able to mount any sort of comeback if you are on the MFLD side. They know they have to hold on to this building. They know they have to maintain their buffs. That's the only way they can get on an even footing right now. Although it still remains a points per minute game in favor of OV. As you mentioned, though, we haven't seen OV provisioning much, while you have seen MFLD provisioning some. We've seen an average, a good amount of people getting to, alliances and kingdoms getting to 7,000, 8,000 points from provisioning alone. If MFLD are indeed provisioning more and a lot more than OV, we can start seeing points really shooting up in terms of the MFLD side towards the last 10 minutes. If there is a 4,000 or 5,000 point differential between these two teams in the provisioning in favor of MFLD, that's this gap. So there is still a lot to be done, but there are two little rallies going on right now. Two from blue, two from red. We need to see more MFLD aggression. We need to see more red buildings blinking before that center arc comes in 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, OV is just pressing the gas pedal down to the floor. I mean, there's nothing keeping them back. So, MFLD has done some rallies to the obelisk and taken it, but then, they just took it back. So it wasn't really distracting to the point where people started pulling their armies back. Whereas OV, again, they just have so much pressure on the front line of MFLD on their defensive side that it's just difficult for MFLD to pump out those rallies like they know they need to be doing. And that's going to cause a big problem with the points per minute score, which you see and have seen for the majority of this match. That also means that they've got to get this next arc. If they don't get this next arc, regardless of provisioning, that's going to be a point total that's just going to be very hard for MFLD to overcome. So they're going to understand, I guarantee you, that they're going to need to put maximum pressure on that arc in the middle here in about 3 or 4 minutes. And they're also going to need to make sure they're continuing to provision. Both of those are going to be critical.
I could not agree with you more. With 6,000, 5,000 point difference in these two teams, and OV with 220 points per minute in their favor right now. The buildings are still looking a little more red than blue. However, MFLD seem to have stabilized a little bit. They now own a sky altar that's ticking for points for them, as well as a desert altar will be in about 1 minute and 50 seconds. For OV right now, it is the time. It's the time once more. We're about to see aggression towards the Shrine of War, aggression towards the Desert Altar, and then that push towards the middle. 4 minutes for the arc. Nobody's in the center yet. This is very typical, and it is okay, but both teams need to be careful to not miss the timing. That timing is going to be critical for them to be able to potentially mount a comeback. And MFLD going back to the old playbook, J-Rock doing what he did earlier in the game, picking up an outpost away from OV. Those outposts being only 30 points per minute, but they're so important to just offset the other team. Every single piece of points right now is worth heaps for MFLD, but they cannot allow this Desert Altar to fall.
Yeah, I mean, they're down by 250 points per minute right now. They need to do anything and everything they possibly can to stop the bleeding of points that they've got right now, which means, again, with 3 minutes almost left to get this arc going, nobody in the middle yet. One army, John Wick, of course, sitting in a caravan right underneath, but nobody else in the middle yet. I see a heavy flood about to unleash to this middle area, and I can already see the lines starting to form. On the red side, let's see if the blue side starts to do the same. I can see a couple coming. This is going to be critical. This is where the match is going to be decided, or at least helped for MFLD to get back in this match, because with a 250 point per minute disadvantage, and they've had that for the majority of the time, they need big chunks of points to make sure that they continue to go forward.
These are the kinds of micro optimizations we expect out of someone like OV. Sanguine Gal actually canceling her rally, and the idea here was to let the rally keep hitting until it pretty much breaks and goes away. Nobody even cared to touch it. The problem here is when Sanguine Gal abandoned this rally, her hope was that people would swarm the building, die off quicker, but 2 of the 4 marches that were in the rally are marching home by themselves. 1 minute and 20 seconds and a whole minute for both of these guys to come back home, while Sanguine Gal and Cabo, who did hit the building, you're going to get a nice little 30-second head start as they run through past these marches. A small mistake, as these 2 marches by Send Nudes and Geo are completely useless right now. Send Nudes finally realizing that and trying to go suicide somewhere, but this is a little bit too late. A small misplay by MFLD, and now look at the center, Dragothian. The lines are starting to pour in, red and blue, and this is for all the marbles.
Yep, OV knows. OV knows that if they can capture this arc, and this is where John Wick's time to shine, right? He's starting to polish his season 1 victory medal, his arc carrying medal that he got, I'm sure, from all the leadership in OV. They know that if they can capture this arc, they may have very well nailed the last nail in the coffin of MFLD. And again, this is the knockout round, ladies and gentlemen. So whoever loses this goes home. Whoever wins continues on to the next round of 8. and this is going to be for all the marbles. So with MFLD starting to pour into the middle as well, there's a minute left before the arc spawns. OV is coming in from all sides, but the problem is, again, when you get so keyed in on defending these structures, and MFLD is defending almost all, if not all, of their front defensive structures, or have already lost them, it's hard to notice that, hey, the arc's going to spawn in 40 minutes, and we kind of need that.
Yes, sir. And while this is going on, a quick update for the viewers who are watching this stream. We have 89px against C9N, 89px 17,000 points against the 24,000 in favor of C9N right now. C9N in the lead. JWM against K9T. JWM with 30,000 points against the 12,000 of K9T. P245, 23,000 points versus the 21,000 points of V163. And Smash Squad against NB2. Smash Squad on the back foot with 18,000 points, 24,000 points in favor of NB2. And those are the matches happening in the background while we're casting this match that is the reigning champions against a very, very strong newcomer to this type of level of Arc of Osiris.
Yeah, and as we knew it, right? So the arc spawned. Ovi's got it. And who's got it? Mr. John Wick.
Who else?
Of course, he did. Yeah, I know, right? He did capture it on the wrong side, so a little bit of a snafu there. He might have just selected all of his troops and said, whichever one picks it up first is the one I'm going with. But again, I mean, there's just a lot. There's just a lot of troops in the middle, and every inch that he brings this arc back is a more time that it's going to take for MFLD to bring it back to their side. And right now, I mean, OV's not committing a super heavy amount. They're just committing enough to delay because they know, hey, I've got 4 of these altars. If I can just keep these altars and delay them from capturing the arc at least a little bit, that may just be enough. Because again, provisioning, while it is important, it's very hard to find 7, 8, 9, 10,000 points when you've got, 750 points coming from the altars every minute.
And to make matters worse, Shrine of War about to go down in favor of OV, who have been rallying it for a little bit now. They've been rallying every possible blue thing. I mean, they're hitting outposts. They're hitting the Shrine of Life. They're hitting everything humanly possible. The Shrine of War still holds. Geo is doing everything he can in his power. But as we mentioned, and you said it perfectly, OV are not committed 100% in here because they are committed onto, first of all, taking the Shrine of War back, take away those extra buffs from MFLD, and then from there, they'll recommit towards the middle, towards whatever they need to do. As we saw them do multiple times in the past, they hit the buildings, then they come towards the center. MFLD trying to get back in action. Sky Altar back in their favor. This building has not ticked for points for them very much, and neither has their own Desert Altar. 360 points per minute in favor of OV. Every single minute this arc is on the field is making it much less useful for the comeback. And with this is 7,000 point difference-ish. We'll call it 9,000 point difference. 8,000 points. Let's do that. A 4,000 point Arc of Osiris makes it 12,000 points. I don't know if anyone can provision that much. And on top of all that, you need the points per minute game. And MFLD are at 150 points, and that's just not enough.
Yeah, it's almost a mirror copy of the last match. I mean, UCS started off really strong last match. They were leading right before that first arc, but as soon as the arcs happened, the game just swung in favor of the red team. And same thing's happening here. OV definitely putting on some pressure, showcasing a solid strategy that I've seen them employ before. The first 2 arcs, they really put a lot of pressure into the middle. They lost that second arc, but they did such a good job on the structure game that it didn't really matter. And then this time, they put heavy pressure at the beginning of the arc popping on the structures, and that gave them all 4 altars, at least for a little bit. And that gave MFLD a heart attack, I guarantee it, when they saw all 4 structures in Red's hands, and then on top of it, not having the arc. That is devastating from a morale perspective. And then once they did that, then they moved all back into the middle. And as you can see, all OV is basically in the middle, carrying this arc. And who else, of course, but John Wick with his Elcid army, moving strong. There is some people coming in from the side from MFLD to try and drop him. They likely will drop him before he gets to the outpost, but there's just a string of OV here to just pick up the arc and keep on going. This is basically a rugby match as it continues to go back to the outpost, and I just don't see how they're going to lose it unless there's a next level big brain play, which is exactly what might be happening from Tom Kent here, taking the outpost, or at least trying to. Problem is, there's a proper garrison in there with Sun Tzu against a not proper army like Double C led army. So this is going to probably be still held by OV.
Yes, sir. And even though Tom Kent is definitely doing damage, there's a march nearby coming to help out a little bit, and it can also go back into the building if need to. Tom Kent taking this building is still not going to be enough. All it's going to do is going to delay the inevitable here, because there are so many red marches in here that even if Tom Kent takes this outpost, how long do you think it'll take all of this red craziness to take out a Cao Cao garrison? I don't think it's going to be beyond the blink at this stage. I can't comment too much about the previous match, but I can tell you that we are seeing kind of the same type of plays. We're seeing an early start by one team while the other team kind of takes its time to start cracking through the defense. And honestly, the number one thing that we continuously talk about in casts is micro optimizations. It's doing the little things that'll make your team even better. It's as much as not hitting a rally and letting it keep going. It's all of these different things that when you have issues with micro optimizations, that's where teams like OV find cracks, and just like water, slowly and steadily get through it, separate the pieces, and before you know it, they're all over you. And that's exactly what happened in this match. Slowly and steadily, OV found the cracks and got in.
Yeah, and with just under 14 minutes left in this match, with 7 minutes until the next arc spawns, you got 12,000 point difference with 140 points per minute in favor of OV still, and tons of armies pouring up towards the blue side on the top side. Rally's already hitting the altars, already hitting the shrines. They've already got things rolling. This is going to be tough. I mean, I really don't see, if I'm being honest, I don't see a way where MFLD can come back into this, provisioning or not. There's just so many rallies already rolling while MFLD is just trying to get back to resort and re-engage. It's going to be interesting to see how they do it, but OV has done a fantastic job. I can't give them enough credit.
Unfortunately, it is not something that we like to do more off these times, because with 13 minutes remaining, there's still a good almost quarter of the match to go. But with 12,000 points worth of a lead for OV against MFLD, and MFLD are starting to catch back up in the points per minute game, but even 140 is quite a lot, and they're about to start losing this Desert Altar, and 150 points per minute are going to go out the window. Sky Altar might go down too. For OV right now, their priority is to take away points from MFLD more than it is for them to gain points. So if right now, as an example, MFLD take away the Desert Altar from OV, which it's likely something that'll happen, it works in favor of OV. Because at the end of the day, this building is going to take 3 long minutes to get points into the favor of MFLD. And the time is the biggest enemy right now. There's just not enough time. For OV, the number one goal right now is to take all the point-making buildings away from MFLD. Once they do, they don't really need to care about anything else, because there's not going to be a way for MFLD to get points to be able to mount a comeback with 290 points in the favor of OV every minute.
Yeah, I feel like I saw this last season, this exact same play, this exact same movie where OV comes in and it was kind of a okay start. Like they were where they needed to be. Things were happening, but a couple balls got dropped, or like the rally at the beginning. Was that a timing like really good play, or was that a timing snafu? Which one was it? And then MFLD starting off very strong, very forward presence, kind of like what you see from OV right now, very forward on the map with lots of armies. And then the arc happened, the first arc, and then everything switched. That's exactly what you saw last season. And interesting to see OV looking like vintage OV. I've watched them throughout the playoffs so far in the qualifiers, and same thing with MFLD. They've stepped their game up. They were not this strong last year. Last year, MFLD was a powerful alliance and one of the most powerful kingdoms, but they were not this strategically strong. MFLD is putting on a good show here, but OV looking like the more seasoned, and rightly so, they won last year, right? The more seasoned Osiris League player. So that's where experience comes into play. I know both of these alliances are using the practice arc in their respective alliances. That's out now. Very inexpensive to do some practice arcs for your alliance. And K93 that houses MFLD, one of the families of alliances there, they are both a KVK and an arc competition kingdom, whereas OV is known for being arc centric. They are very, very focused on arc and Osiris League in general, and that may be what we're seeing here a little bit more focus on some certain things allows proper execution, a little better execution, and that looks like a 13,000 point advantage is what that looks like on the screen.
So one point that you brought up that is super important is the ability to practice. One thing that we should point out is that MFLD in Kingdom 93 have multiple families and alliances in there that are capable of doing a good 30 versus 30 practice match. Talking about K9T against MFLD, you get everybody on the same alliance, 30 versus 30, and you go ham. You can do that every single day. The resources are now available for kingdoms like Kingdom 93 to utilize their size and strength to improve upon these different mechanics in the game. And I think that they've been using it very much in their to improve. To go against a seasoned veteran champion team is now not easy at all. The worst part of all of this is not necessarily the plays on the field, but rather the mental aspect. You're going up against a team that is just so strong that as soon as you drop the ball one time and you notice that they noticed it and they punished you for it, it's so demoralizing. It is so hard to come back from it mentally. And once you start having that little bit of crisis in your Discord chat, once you have a little bit of that crisis in your head of like, we're screwed, that's one of the worst enemies in these matches, and OV abuse that every single time. They know they have the name, they know they have the power, and they know that they see when you drop the ball and they make hella sure you know they saw it.
Yep, and OV starting to pour into the middle again with some MFLD sitting there waiting for them. I don't know if this is necessarily a strategic play or they're just wanting to have a little bit of fun, because honestly, again, like we just said earlier, 8 minutes left in the match, it being a 12, almost 13,000 point difference with the arc popping here, unless, again, some massive provisions happening on MFLD side, which I do see some, but again, I don't know if it's that many points worth. OV is going to likely take this, and yeah, with that being the case, I mean, we've had some really good matches so far today, this being one of them. I'm glad to have helped cast it and see it. We're seeing some strategies here that not only are tried and true, but there are some adjustments, some augments that we've seen so far, especially with garrisoning, timing, a little bit of bob and weave a little bit from OV that's been very successful, that kind of thing.
Yes, sir. With 7 minutes remaining, this arc is going to be, what, 4,500 points? Even if MFLD right now take it straight home, that'll put them at 9,000 points difference. And truthfully, there's very little that's going to be able to save them here, especially because in those 7 minutes, the folks of OV are going to gain 230 points every single minute. So another 1,400 points in their favor in these 7 minutes, which means this arc is really just going to cause a 3,000 point gap closer rather than 4,500, 3,100 points if you really want to be insistent on it, but that's just not enough. And we've seen most of the match OV having 3 altars consistently. They've held 3 altars consistently. I don't think for more than that MFLD had 2 altars giving them points for more than 10 minutes total this whole match.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same story, right? I mean, they're doing a fantastic job of execution. I hear a lot of people in the chat wanting to switch matches. We're not going to be doing that. These two teams deserve every bit of their 60 minutes that we're casting them for. I will recap some of the scores, though, just so everybody is up to date, though. C9N is beating 89PX by 13,000 points. That one's pretty much wrapped up just like this one is. JWM with a massive victory over K9T, 50,000 to 17,000 points. So huge victory to JWM again. The match that's really, really close right now is P245 against V163. It's just under 3,000 points. I'm sorry. Yep, just under 3,000 points in favor of P245 right now. That's an art capture. That is provisions. That could easily swing the other way. And then finally, the Smash Squad Wolves are losing right now to Newbie 2 by about 8,000 points. That one also looks a little wrapped up unless there's a crazy amount of provisioning and an art capture simultaneously. We'll have to see how that one plays out. But with just a few minutes left inside of this match, it looks like about half of them are already decided and 2 are going to be somewhat close. Maybe 1 is really the only one that has a little bit of a close one. Everything else is pretty much seemingly wrapped up.
Yes, sir, and that will also conclude today's casts as well as Osiris League on this round. We will be back on this channel next week once more with as many possible casts as humanly possible. It really depends on when they set up those times and who plays when. If you guys would like to have an impact on deciding which match we should cast, leave a like on this video as well as a comment to let Lilith and ourselves know we want to have a say, and in that we will put maybe a nice little Facebook, YouTube poll to ask you guys which match you guys would like to see. Maybe that will satisfy a little bit the raging bulls in the chat with a Switch match. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, there's really no way to know which match is going to be good or which one isn't. We just pick one early on, hope and pray to get an awesome match, and regardless of it being one-sided or not, we have to respect both sides of this match, give them the opportunity to display themselves from A to Z, and winning or losing, we're not going to be switching matches throughout any of the casts of Osiris League. It's pointless to keep asking.
That's right. And the arc is about to be captured, it looks like, by MFLD, trying to get it back there quickly. Again, that's going to give them about 4,000, 4,500 points. I can't remember which arc we're on now. I think this is the fourth one, right?
45.
Yeah, 4,500 points then. So with that being said, I mean, it's going to make the score a little bit nicer looking in favor of OV still, but it'll be a little bit closer. And then again, I think for the rest of the match, likely they'll all just kind of meet in the middle somewhere and just start smacking on each other. I see some T5 Siege rolling out from Blitz there, trying to throw some rocks at some people. I mean, why not? That's the way to do it at the end. And OV, again, pouring through each side, trying to get to the arc. But I think ultimately MFLD will take this last arc. And really, this was a structure game match. Last match, we saw Arc of Osiris really win the match between JWM2 and UCS. This match, it was a combination of things, but really the structure game is what won it for OV, because not only did they get the points from all those structures all that time, but they also kept MFLD on their back foot. And if you let MFLD unleash themselves on a map unhindered, you're going to be in a world of hurt. And OV recognized that, and they went ahead and made MFLD stay on their back foot, stay on their heels. And that's really what ultimately, I think, led to OV with a significantly large victory over a very solid alliance.
Yes, sir. It's the analogy that I tend to use is the driver and who is holding the wheel. At this point, the moment you give MFLD the wheel, man, the kinds of things that World of Hurt you're going to be in are crazy. But OV recognizing that, gave them the wheel early on, allowed them to feel a little more comfortable, and then smacked back in. They didn't give it to them. They rightfully got it. I believe that the play on that Desert Altar early on was really awesome by MFLD. I really have not seen that before, and I think that if the teleports weren't an issue per se, this could have been a very interesting situation. The problem here is, once more, as you mentioned, when you have too many marches up there, teleports don't happen, which means you now have to wait longer for them to come home. It's a trade-off. The question is how you micro-optimize that play so that it doesn't hinder your teleports. Perhaps you make sure that those who teleport early don't go out there or something like that. I think that this is a play that we will see happen more in the future. I think that MFLD cracked a very interesting possibility of an early on game that I'm more than confident that we will see multiple other alliances trying to do this in a more micro-optimized way in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And just to keep an eye, so MFLD does have quite a few siege coming back to the cities that are in their base still. The fact that there are cities still in their base right now, to me, with less than 1 minute left, is a problem. They should definitely have been able to teleport by now. They've got 13 teleports racked up. That, being in the base, even if you're provisioning, that's still double the time it takes to walk to these provisioning nodes. So, something to think about in the future when you're looking at the strategy and trying to figure out where it went wrong, and some, like you said, micro optimizations that they can do to really kind of cut some of the different fluff or the different fat off of the bone. OV's still pouring it on. There's rallies still going out. There's an Utilitator rally, although it doesn't look like it's very full, against Artemisia here on the left side, Sky Altar. Just again, both teams played brilliantly, and it's always like this, right? With this level of gameplay, with these level of alliances that are playing in these last 16 alliances in the Osiris League playoffs, there's just no room for error. There's no room for one or two plays to happen. And with that, the victory is done. Sanguine Gao is going to be the MVP with 170, almost 176,000 points. Gecko, take us into the stats.
Yes, sir. So before that, though, major GGs in the chat for both teams. Congrats to MFLD and OV for a great match. OV progressing in MFLD, knocked out at the top 16. That is a really, really insane position to be in, and this guarantees once more that we'll most likely see them again next season. I'm really looking forward to see what they bring to the table next season. Provisioning was indeed very strong for MFLD. They made the play. They went for 8,120 points against the 3,180 by the folks of OV. This is how this match ended up being about 6,000 points difference, 6,004 to 5 to be honest. And again, look at the points when it comes to occupation. Those altars that did not give points to MFLD, that's 6,000 points. They didn't really need to win the occupation score, but they needed just a little bit more to be able to get back in there towards the very end. They closed the match at a very, very, very good score. 41,000 against 35,000 against OV is nothing to be ashamed of. There is a lot to learn in here. The heals are pretty much the same. The kills are pretty much the same. Here and there, OV did a little bit more damage, but we know MFLD has more power, so more troops available. Yeah, Dragothian, it looks like a great end of a match.
Yeah, last matches of the day this weekend, and we're already starting to see what this final 8 are going to look like. And I've already kind of jumped ahead a bit and gone to the schedule of what's going down or what went down today. And just to recap, the winners of today from 13 UTC, BBTH taking out 166. Both teams looking to go deep into the playoffs, newcomers. BBTH came out the victor by just under 2,000 points by that one. That was a very close one. JWM2, you saw that on this very channel a couple hours ago, defeating UCS, taking them out of the match. Again, this is knockout rounds, guys. Whoever wins goes to the next round. Whoever loses goes home with a sad, pale, crying face, all that good stuff. HKL taking out 1008, now called 1PS8 Pickle Lifestyle. That's interesting. And MFLD, you just saw them on this stream here, losing, going down to OV with a very solid gameplay, strategy, and execution. C9N taking out 89PX by a significant margin, 20,000 points. JWM moving on over K9T by a very large margin as well. P245 winning over V163. That's 11,000 point difference. They must have captured an arc and delivered quite a few provisions. And then at the end, the last match here at the bottom, Newbie 2 winning over Smash Squad by about 6,000 points. So Smash Squad going home, Newbie 2 advancing forward. Gecko.
Yes, sir. Dragothian, thank you very much for being here with us today. Let me go back into what would be the end game screen right here, and from there, let's go take a peek really quickly at the at how the bracket looks like and what the matches that are coming up we should be looking forward for. Dragothian, thank you very much, my man. Oh, and yeah, let's go. All right, so with this being said, let's go take a quick peek at the bracket, what we got going on right now. Let's look at the schedule, and here is what we should expect next week. OV going up against C9N, JWM against P245, and on the other side of the bracket, NB2 against JWM2, and BBTH against HKL. Next week, hopefully, we'll have some better timing. So far, we see 13 and 15 UTC, so you can expect the BBTH against HKL match being casted, and then, because it's the only one at 13 UTC really, and then from there, we can take a peek at the rest of them. You guys might have the opportunity to choose which match should be casted. Let us know by smashing the like on this video, and of course, commenting down below we want to choose. Let's go take a quick peek at the Realm of Anubis, see if perhaps we'll have something at another time in here to cast all of these matches as well at 13 and 15 UTC. Let's recap really quickly what happened on this realm. NCB took out TMD and moved on. BQQM being taken out by VNFV. Interesting stuff. The bets were very much towards BQQM. And so NCB against VNFV are going to go up against each other next week. FN beating M8R drastically. It seems like a very one-sided match. And 1341 taking out BS59 next week. 1341 against FN is going to be a very, very big match. On the other side of the bracket, 47A narrowly lost to 1V, 34 to 30,000 points. NBA1 beating Riot by 5,000 points and going up against 101V next week. On the other side, at the bottom, LIIG took out GX96 and 411K took out 92KW, and they're going to meet each other next week, LIIG versus 411K. This cast has been brought to you by the content creators of Rise of Kingdoms as well as Lilith Gaming. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff, and we'll see you guys next week for more casts. Take care.